everybody. Welcome back to Challenge the Call with Max and Avery. I'm your host, Max.
And I am Avery. How are you guys?
All right, so to get things rolling today, we're going to be talking about the playoffs are officially here. It is wild card weekend, baby, and I could not be more excited. Avery, how about you?
Yeah, man, I am officially out of my football slump, and I am ready to rock and roll for these NFL playoffs. Like, we got some exciting matchups.
We do.
It's going to be great.
I'm a little bit out of whatever slump I had going too. I was down at the coaching convention all weekend, like we were talking about, and I tell you what, that was awesome. I absolutely loved it down there. I learned a lot. I met Dabo Sweeney. I met the head coach of the Illinois football team. A lot of awesome guest speakers. It really romanticized coaching football to me. I'm not going to lie. Like, being a football coach in my head, just like I am almost in love with the idea now. So it was a great time.
You got to meet Brett Bellamy from Illinois.
Yeah, he gave a talk to everybody, and he talked about how he actually got his start at Iowa and everything, how that was his very first GA job, and he made $60K.
Wow,
I did not make $60K. So, wish I was D1, but whatever.
Yeah, no kidding. That would be so nice. I feel like there's so many people out there that would actually get into coaching if you made $60K, correct, even at a D3, D2 level.
Exactly. I even saw a job posting in Colorado that they were paying $15K. Like, it's what's called a restricted earnings position. And I had to look up what that means because I was like, oh, I'd apply to that job. What does restricted earnings condition mean? Basically, it means you're a full-time employee that they're going to pay like a part-time or a GA.
Yeah, that sucks. So, that is terrible.
That's an interesting thing. There were lawsuits. The NCAA was in lawsuits with that policy. I didn't read that closely into it to see what the final rulings on this stuff was, but yeah, I could see where some people would be a little upset with that.
For sure, man. Like that, I feel like that's some labor law. Like, exactly. There's got to be something up with that. That's insane.
Yeah, like if you're gonna pay me part time, I'm just gonna work part time. I'm not gonna do all the full time stuff that comes with coaching. But anyway, we'll get into the playoffs now with our wild card matchups. So we'll start off with the AFC here. First seed is the Chiefs. I feel a little awkward talking about the AFC and the seeding right now because, as we all know, that Bills and Bengals game never actually happened, so some of it could be a little controversial with the seeding. I think they have finally ruled that if the Chiefs and the Bills meet up, it will be at a neutral site, correct?
Yeah, actually, they came out today and they said it will be at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium down in New Orleans.
Okay.
So at the Saints home stadium. So that's pretty neutral. And it's kind of cool because, you know, the weather won't play a factor with it being a dome. And both teams, you know, even though if they played at a cold weather stadium anyways, the Chiefs and the Bills are both used to cold weather. They should have just played at Soldier Field.
Yeah, they would have both been perfectly fine in the cold weather. It would have been whatever to them. But, yeah, so the Chiefs are the number one seed due to the Bills and Bengals never playing, so they have a bye this week. But after that, we have the Bills in a rematch with the Dolphins. That'll be interesting. We have the Bengals, number 3, against the Ravens. And we have the Jaguars against the Chargers. So,
yeah, man.
I don't know. Should we talk a little bit about all these games? Should we pick our couple faves? I don't even know.
No, let's talk about all of them, man.
All right, let's start right off the bat then. Bills and Dolphins. What are your thoughts? Tua's out, isn't he?
Tua is out. Skylar Thompson will start. This is also cool. This is the first time that 2 seventh-round quarterbacks that are rookies are starting in the playoffs this year. Skylar Thompson was drafted earlier in the 7th round before Brock Purdy. So that's really exciting to see. One thing before we get into the Bills, you know, I just want to say DeMar Hamlin is in Buffalo. He's out of the hospital. So good thoughts, prayers, they worked. He's That's just awesome recovery time.
I'm glad he's a
So,
little bit out of the woods and that everything is, for the most part, okay.
yeah, I think I saw that he's at like a rehab facility now in Buffalo. So that's really cool to see. But yeah, no, the Bills are going to wax the Dolphins, by the way.
Yeah.
They have too much momentum. Josh Allen's a beast. That defense is opportunistic. Like, they're good defense.
Even if Tua was going to be playing, I'd be taking the Bills all the way. Dolphins ain't beating them. I don't think we need to talk too much more about this one because, like I said, even if Tua is playing, it's the Bills all the way, baby. And Tua's not playing, so even more so than ever, it's Bills by a landslide.
38-10.
Yeah.
That's my final score prediction on it. 38-10 probably. It's going to be a shootout. It's going to be a blowout.
I should have looked up the odds. I didn't look up any of the odds on these, but that's all right. It's whatever. Other game, Bengals, Ravens. Thoughts?
So Lamar's out.
Ooh, that's right.
Well, I don't know if he's officially out, but I know he's out right now. So if it's Tyler Huntley, and I think Tyler Huntley's hurt also. I don't know if he's a game time decision or not. So they're going to another 4th-round pick 2 years ago, Anthony Brown. It just sounds like the Bengals are the better team at this point. Ravens kind of limped into the playoffs, hurt. And, you know, if it was 3-4 weeks ago, I'd say this would be a great game. But I feel like on the AFC side, it's not that great.
There's two kinds of teams in the playoffs right now in my head. There's the team. Well, okay. There's 3 kinds of teams in the playoffs right now in my head. There's the teams that we all knew week 1 were going to be in the playoffs: Bills, Chiefs, maybe not Eagles, but like after a few weeks, Eagle. You know, there's the teams that we always knew were going to be there. Or the teams that are making big stride, like the 49ers. Like, oh, yeah, 49ers are going.
Seahawks.
Well, yeah, not even to me. Nah, Seahawks are, that was less. Seahawks would fall in my second category of teams that are in the playoffs that I didn't take any notice of until looking at the breakdown of the playoffs. Like the Ravens, the Seahawks, Giants a little bit, like those Chargers. Those are all teams that I look at the lineups, I see that they're in it, and I'm kind of like, oh, didn't realize they were this close to being in it.
Yeah, which, I mean, and that makes sense. I mean, there are a lot of new faces, or at least faces we haven't seen in 4 or 5 years. Vikings, Giants, it's going to be exciting. Seahawks, Jaguars, it'll be fun to watch.
But anyway, going back to Bengals-Ravens, yeah, but Ravens, kind of like you said, they squeaked their way in. They're one of those teams that wasn't a huge, obvious playoff choice. They just kind of showed up there. And so I think even if Lamar were around, I think the Bengals are the better team. Bengals have upheld the momentum that they had last season with the Super Bowl, unlike the Rams. But I think the Bengals, either way, can take the Ravens. Maybe it's close. I could see a close-ish game happening, but Joe Burrow's locking that one up.
One thing about the Ravens, and this isn't even playoff talk, is they just gave Roquan Smith 5 years, $100 million contract. So the Ravens did lock up Roquan like they promised when they traded for him. So, yeah, I mean, hey, you know, good for Roquan getting his money. That's what he wanted, right?
Yeah, definitely.
He didn't
good
want
for him.
Yep. But yeah, no, Bengals by a landslide. Maybe not a landslide, but Bengals are going to take it.
Yeah. Now, here's the most interesting game in the AFC in my eyes. Jaguars, Chargers. Chargers are number 5, so not great. Jaguars are number 4, but the only reason Jaguars are number 4 is because they happen to win a shitty division. So, like, should they be number 4? No. But they are. What do you think of this game?
I believe in the Jacksonville Jaguars. So earlier in the year, they played each other. It was week 3, and the Jaguars kicked the shit out of the Chargers 38-10.
No.
But Justin Herbert was also hurt, and they had a lot of players hurt at that time. One thing about the Los Angeles Chargers is they got Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. Joey Bosa just came back from injury. That front four is deadly. So Trevor Lawrence might be running for his life, but I believe in Trevor Lawrence. I do.
Trevor, the thing is, Trevor Lawrence should be somewhat used to running for his life. Like, there's a
Right.
reason the Jaguars weren't an obvious, outstanding team making the playoffs. They squeaked by in their division. They nearly lost it to the Titans in their final week game. I think he's a little bit used to having that kind of panic, should you say, whether he's actually panicking or he's very, calm and focused with the pressure, but he's used to being pressured like that. So that could play into his favor.
For sure. No, and I don't know. Doug Peterson, it comes down to coaching for me with this game. Yeah, Jaguars 9-8, but they went on a 5-1 run to win the division. They are 5-1 in the last 6 games of the year. That's impressive.
Yeah.
And they beat good teams doing it. They beat the Cowboys doing it.
So they
beat the Bucs.
That's one of those instances where the overall record doesn't necessarily indicate the momentum of a team. Because, yeah, like you said, like Jaguars' momentum, they're on the up and up.
Yeah, and Chargers, they win 2 games, lose 2 games. They've been kind of, that type of team all year. Like, oh, they could beat, the Chiefs one week, but then go out and lose to the Broncos the next. And so I just, I feel like the Chargers are way too inconsistent. And when inconsistency comes down to coaching. And Brandon Staley is not that great of a coach to me. I don't think he's a good coach. He's not a good play caller. And the Jaguars have a Super Bowl winning head coach in Doug Peterson for them. And I like Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson knows how to get the most out of his guys. We talked about it in the past. We talked about, are you a rah-rah guy or an XO guy? It's a classic XO versus rah-rah guy.
I definitely like the Jags for this, I think. And that might partially just be due to the fact that I don't think I watched a single Chargers game all season. So I have no idea what they truly look like on the field, but I kind of like the Jags for this. They're on a little bit of a hot streak. I watched them beat the Titans in the final week. I don't know. Let's go Trevor Lawrence. I want to see that second-year success a little bit out of him.
And what's crazy about a lot of this is like Trevor Lawrence, it's going to always be compared Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. But I like, and it used to irritate me with Mitch and Patrick Mahomes. It used to irritate me, Patrick Mahomes, Mitch, and Deshaun Watson. But at this point, like, I know Justin's got potential and he's shown a lot. So, like, it doesn't irritate me with Trevor Lawrence. I don't see those two quarterbacks that far off.
Justin is just as good. They're a little bit different styles. They play a little bit different ways, but they're both high-level quarterbacks that are going to be just fine in the NFL.
For sure. But, yeah, I really like Duval, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they take it.
All right. So, moving to the NFC side of things, the first round bye, we have the Eagles. Obviously, they have the best record in the NFL overall right now. So, of course.
I want to talk about that real quick before we move on to the second game about the Eagles. I know they have a bye week, but that's another team that has limped into the playoffs. They have definitely limped into the playoffs in a way. They lost 2 out of their last 3 games, and they had Jalen Hurts, but they've had a lot of injuries come up. And Jalen's still not 100%. Jalen Hurts still not 100%. He's pushing to play, but I don't see it. I don't see it.
Well, here's the thing with this. First of all, this is a discussion for next week as we come up to the divisional round. Right? That's the next one? Yeah. As we come up to the divisional round. Second of all, they may have lost 2 of their last 3. They've also only lost 3 games. So, I mean, take that with it. Like, yeah, we can talk about momentum. There's a huge, huge difference talking about the momentum shifts between an undefeated team that goes 1-3 for their last 3 versus, or 1-2 for their last 3 versus 5-1 of their last 6. Like, huge difference. I don't care that they lost their last 2. That's irrelevant to me. And I mean, even this week, like I said, it's a little bit irrelevant because this is a rest week for them. They're a little banged up. I know Hurts isn't feeling great and all that and everything, but they have a first round bye. He's got a whole week to. We'll see how if he's any better coming into the divisional round.
For sure, man. Yeah. But even with that 1 week's rest, we'll see what happens. Hopefully he gets healthy enough to play in that divisional round. But, you never know. But that's for another topic next week.
I hope he is. I hope he is healthy because I low key kind of like the Eagles, like making it far. There are 3 teams right now that I really really like in the NFC: Eagles, Niners, and Cowboys a little bit low key. But speaking of the Niners, they will play the Seahawks, and I think they win that. I mean, with the streak they're going on, Purdy's been balling out. The Seahawks are another one of those teams, kind of like the Chargers, that I think I watched one game of theirs. I only watched one game of theirs this season, so I don't really know how great they truly are at all. But I really like the Niners. Niners are the 2 seed right now. They're rolling.
Yeah, no, I watched quite a bit of Seahawks games in the beginning of the year, and it's a feel good story with Geno Smith. I really like that story that he was a first round pick, and then he's been labeled a bust, and here he is on the scene. So I really like him getting his second shot, especially 9 years later. That's unheard of usually. Usually you get labeled a bust right away, but I anybody that knows me knows that, like, for some reason, not even Brock Purdy or George Kittle, for some reason I have like this weird liking to the 49ers.
I kind
Like
of
they're
do
like
too.
my yeah, I don't know why, because I'm a Bears fan, but if the Bears didn't exist, it would be like I'd be fighting with myself being a Raiders or a 49er fan. It would be really hard. But I really do like the San Francisco 49ers, and I think they pulled this off with actually a pretty big blowout. I think Brock Purdy shows everybody that he is a starting quarterback and he belongs in the playoffs. George Kittle is the healthiest I've seen him in 3 years.
Yeah. Kittle is playing amazing too. Like all kudos to Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's doing great, especially considering he was Mr. Irrelevant. But I mean, he couldn't have asked for a better team to be on either. George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, you got so many gifted talent. Christian McCaffrey even now.
And that's what I was gonna say next. I talked about George Kittle, the healthiest I've seen him. Christian McCaffrey is the healthiest anybody's seen him in the NFL.
You want
He
to
was labeled
know
injured.
my theory on that? I just thought of as you said that, I just had a thought there. And my big thought is the 49ers have so much weaponry to move the ball around, whereas McCaffrey with the Panthers was like a one-man show. He was probably injured all the time because he probably took 50 fucking reps every game.
Right. And besides, the 1 year that Cam Newton was still Superman.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was his rookie year, and that's where he came onto the scene. And so, I mean, us Iowa fans know him a little differently because he came on the scene in the Rose Bowl against us. But yeah, no, I really do. I like that theory because, yeah, they spread the ball around. And it's kind of cool, both quarterbacks, they have total, different career arcs. Geno Smith, highly touted first-round pick, labeled bust, and now is getting his chance. Brock Purdy, unheralded rookie quarterback that's showing it right now. It's just kind of cool to see the demographics there because it's okay, everybody gets to the playoffs some way, somehow. And here we are.
The biggest thing it makes me think of, similar to the college football playoff type thing, it's the same way I rant about how the college football playoff are structured with analysts picking teams. How good are these analysts? Obviously, they get a lot right, but yeah, you have cases like these two, Mr. Irrelevant versus highly, whatever, first round pick that was a butt. Like, okay, they didn't live up to their career paths whatsoever. In Brock Purdy's sense, it was a good thing. Like, he didn't want to live up to being Mr. Irrelevant. But still, like, that, I've got a bone to pick with analysts sometimes. Because it's like, who are you to be making all these claims that half of the time feel like they were completely, utterly wrong?
I agree. But yeah, no, I really hope these 49ers kick the shit out of the Seahawks.
Me too.
Because, one, like, don't get me wrong, I don't have anything against the Seattle Seahawks. I've never, like, hated the Seahawks.
I've low-key liked
Like,
the Seahawks a little bit in recent
yeah.
years.
And one thing, though, is, like, the Lions deserve the 7th spot. And so, like, I'm just a little salty that Seattle got it still. I mean, I know tiebreakers, stuff like that, that's fine. But, yeah, so, and I like the 49ers a lot better than the Seahawks, so I hope that the 49ers kick the shit out of them.
Same. Definitely same. Just to comment back on that, though, while we are talking about that 7th spot and the Lions, how about the Lions-Packers game? Love it. Love to see it.
You know, it's sad when, and this will bring us into our next game we'll talk about, that the Lions were the best team in the NFC North.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that. I firmly believe the Lions are the best team in the NFC North.
They are. They are.
Yeah, they are. And they missed out on the playoffs, which is a damn shame because Dan Campbell had that team playing. I love Dan Campbell. Like, I wish he was, like, I get Eberflus. He seems like a really good guy, and the players love him in Chicago. But you can tell, man, like listening to Jamal Williams talk that press conference, which he broke Barry Sanders' record, which is incredible. And just like hearing like all the guys, like, we like playing for Dan. We like playing for Dan. Dan, like, they would do anything for Dan Campbell. And I love that because Dan's he's not an XO guy.
No.
Have you ever talked to or heard him talk? But he's just like, he's that guy that everybody wants to play for.
I love Dan Campbell. Every time I hear his name mentioned, I'm always like, that. I like that guy. He's a good guy. He deserves to be an NFL coach. I think he's the right kind of NFL coach. What a head coach should be.
Yeah, and one thing else is Jared Goff. I'm sorry. I know Stafford got a ring in LA, and I had this take a long time ago, and people laughed me out of the room. But I think the Lions won this side of the trade for long-term sake. I get it, one ring. I know Stafford got a ring. That's fine. But the way that the Rams set the Lions up for the future, and Jared Goff has we talked about Geno Smith resurging his career, right? Reviving his career. Jared Goff did that this year. He's an incredible player.
I think to say who won the trade, like longevity aside, sure, but like I think if they don't make that trade though, like even for the Rams, I don't think anything goes any much better. You know, like either Stafford would eventually been able to show his talents with having the people around him that he actually needs to do so for the Lions, or Jared Goff would sit with the Rams and never get out of his funk that he just was in LA. I think both teams needed the trade regardless. I think it's a win-win for either one of them.
And yeah, that's kind of where I was going with. I really do think it's a win-win. But Aaron Rodgers, is he done?
I hope so.
Is he done?
I hope he's fucking done. I was the minute the Lions won that game, I was like, hell yeah, Packers out of the playoffs. Let's go.
I'm so happy he's out of the playoffs, but a little part of me wants him to come back next year.
To beat him?
I want to beat him. I don't want the Bears to do our dirty work. I mean, I don't want the Lions to do our dirty work.
That's fair.
They just did our dirty work. I want the Bears to go out to Lambeau, Week 18, similar game. We're both playing for a playoff spot, and I want to beat Aaron Rodgers. And then Justin Fields says, I own you.
That's
because
fair.
That would be incredible.
I want to make one asterisk to that, though.
Yeah.
Don't want us to be fighting for a playoff spot week 18. I want us to have one solidly locked down. We have clinched it like by week 16 at least.
True. Makes sense. Well, maybe we're playing for the division week 16 or something.
We're playing for
That'd be
seeding.
cool.
We're playing for the first round bye. Put it that way.
Yep. That would be cool. Or better yet, we beat them in the NFC Championship.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That would work
to go
for
to
me
the
too.
Super Bowl.
That would work
Oh
for
my
me
God.
too.
That would, you know the saying, you won the battle, but you didn't win the war?
Yep.
That would be the definition of Aaron Rodgers' career. With that right there. Bears beat them in Lambeau Field in the NFC Championship, and we go to the Super Bowl. Oh my God.
That would be fantastic. But getting into another team in the NFC North here, like you mentioned, next playoff game we'll talk about Giants versus Vikings. Low-key, the Giants might pull this one off. This one might be an upset.
Vikings are frauds. I've been saying that all year also. They're fraudulent. Kirk Cousins is fraudulent. Kirk Thuggin is no more, as I've mentioned in the past. I don't believe in the Vikings. I haven't all year. They've been similar to us all year. Your thoughts, your opinions.
The Vikings seem, at least when I watch them, they seem to be one of two teams. A team that's going to put up 40 or a team that's going to get 40 put up on them. And, I mean, shit, some games we've seen a little bit of both. The Colts game,
Yep.
it happened one way, turned it right back around, played the second half the complete opposite way. But, you know, they seem like a real, kind of like you say with inconsistency, they seem like a real inconsistent team. But not just like a little bit of a wibble wobble. It's like we're dominating or we're fucking getting our asses kicked. Like, it's one extreme or the other. So, at the end of the day, maybe they beat the Giants, but after that, the needle's gonna flip and they're just gonna get absolutely demolished by whoever they line up against next.
I agree. One thing with this game, it's the Coach of the Year championship, I think, because the two Coach of the Year finalists is Kevin O'Connell, first-year coach for the Minnesota Vikings, or Brian Daboll, the first-year coach of the New York Giants. And I think whoever wins this game will win Coach of the Year. But I think the coach that deserves it and the team that will pull it off is the New York Giants. I think Daboll is a hell of a coach. He showed it up in Buffalo. He mentored Josh Allen. He got to Josh Allen to who he is. And you've seen the flip script with Daniel Jones, like the script flip. Like Daniel Jones this year has been a capable, competent
And that's the
quarterback.
biggest thing I want to put, like, with the Coach of the Year award, like, you think of the Giants and everything, with how much success they're having. I mean, they're in the playoffs right now, and you look at that, and to me, you kind of go, who plays for the Giants? Who?
Exactly.
I mean,
Yep.
You got Saquon, but, like, even then, he hasn't been fantastic the past couple of years. So even at that rate, you're kind of like, who is an absolute stud? Who is the Justin Jefferson, the Stephon Diggs, the
Darius
Slayton? But you know, they to me they don't have that real big, just like absolute breakout player kind of guy, but they're coached well enough and they work enough as a unit that they made playoffs and they're in this thing. And they could arguably make it to the divisional round being lined up against the Vikings.
The crazy thing about this, too, is that the Giants really didn't add anything from last year. They went 5-12 last year. They literally went 5-12 last year. The Giants didn't add anything.
No.
It just shows the difference. Like you said, Joe Judge to Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll, hell of a coach. Joe Judge, shit show. You saw what he did in New England this year. I really hope the Giants pull this off. I think they got a good shot at pulling this off. The spread for this game is actually, I just looked it up.
Good.
It's +3. +3.
I think
Giants +3.
Ooh, that's a hard one though, because like I said, like it's either gonna be Vikings by 1 million or Giants by 1 million. Like I ain't taking the cover. It's gonna be money line one way or the other.
I think Giants money line, man. I do like out of all the games. I know we talked about, but the Jags wouldn't even be upset because they are higher seeding. But I think out of all the games, the 6 seed Giants are going to pull the upset against the Vikings and show everybody that Kirk Cousins is
I
fraudulent,
think so too.
and the Vikings defense is fraudulent. Let's say that because it is fraudulent. Their Vikings defense is very
Yeah.
fraudulent. So sorry, Andy. I hate to tell you, but Daniel Jones is going to pull this out, and yeah, the Giants are going to go to the divisional round.
I'm gonna go with my want maybe a little bit more than some reason, but like yeah, I'm taking the Giants. Next game, Cowboys, Buccaneers. I also kind of like the Cowboys for the Buccaneers are once again same as the Jaguars. I love how there's one in both divisions. They just happen to win a really shitty division, or yeah, there's one in each conference. They just happen to win a really shitty division and manage to be in the playoffs as a divisional.
Yeah. So I know I have a buddy Phil. He's been a guest host. He's very nervous about this game because Tom Brady's 7-0 against the Cowboys, and he's nervous because the Cowboys are also 0-3 against the Bucks within the last 2 years. But this isn't the same Bucks,
You know,
man. This isn't the same
you know what
Bucks.
I have to say to that?
Yeah.
The what's the saying? The other table has to turn at some time. What's the saying? Like, oh, the shoe has to drop at some point. Whatever I'm
Yeah.
trying to think. Like,
I
streaks
get that.
are made to be broken. Like, oh, there's seven. To me, when I see a really long streak in a really close matchup, that almost signifies to me, like, oh shit, this thing is about to flip. You know, because
We
if you
saw that
want
with Iowa and
yeah,
Nebraska this
if
year.
you want to think statistically, to some degree, it's like, hey, after so long of things being one way, the chances of them going the other way, at least in my head, just seem like they have to be higher and higher and higher, you know?
I agree, man. I really do. So I really think I think Cowboys pull this off. The only thing that makes me nervous about the Dallas Cowboys is they didn't rest their starters in Week 18 against the Washington Commanders, and they got blown out. And Dak looked terrible. Dak can't look terrible in this game because Tampa Tom. Unfortunately, we just said it's not the same Bucks, but Tom Brady's done it
Yeah,
before, and I'm nervous about
they
that.
still put up a fight. It's still Tom Brady. He's still going to put up a good fight. No one's saying this is going to be an easy win for the Cowboys. They're going to have to earn it. I just think if they truly if they come out to play, if they truly come out to play their best, they will easily be better than the Bucks. But it won't be easy for them. That's for sure.
I agree. But yeah, Cowboys, this spread is Cowboys -5.5. I think that's a little too high. I think it'll be a 27-24 game.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I think Cowboys -3. I don't know.
I mean,
I'll just take Cowboys money line.
I would take Bucks to cover. I think the Cowboys
Yeah.
win, but like Bucks cover it. And in the off chance I'm wrong about the Cowboys and the Bucks do win, I'm still good.
There you go. There you go.
But moving on, we'll get into our final Bear Central for the season. Just kind of recap the Vikings game. We lost 29-13, of course. That shouldn't be much of a surprise as we started Nathan Peterman since, it didn't matter for us.
Yeah. This game was weird, man. Nathan Peterman looked decent though for the first half,
Yeah.
and then I mean he was 6 for 11, 75 yards.
I think when you're playing a game like this where you kind of get put in just to like, hey, you're
go lose us this.
you're the second or third string guy. We're resting our starter, like we don't really care. I think you can go out there and play with a little bit of calmness or a little bit of cool and collected. You know what I mean? The pressure's not on in this situation
Yeah,
for you to come out and do good.
it's not like, you're filling in for a starter of a playoff team
Yeah.
or something like that. And it's like, oh crap, if I fuck up, we won't go to the playoffs. Yeah, no, I think you're right. And it's funny because Nathan Peterman was doing so well that they had to bench him and put Tim Boyle in just so we would lose.
Yeah.
Because Tim Boyle came in the second half and he proceeded to throw 2 picks. But up until that second half, it was 13-10. Yeah, and so I was like, oh crap, are we gonna beat the Vikings? And then they put Tim Boyle in, and then he throws 2 picks. So
Right.
thank God for Tim Boyle.
Yeah, and getting into that, thank God for Tim Boyle, because a team that did win, the Texans, forget who they played. Colts?
Colts.
Texans won it. Bears got the first overall pick of the draft. Let's go.
First time the Chicago Bears have had a first overall pick since 1947.
That,
by the way,
that is both an amazing stat and a horrible one.
I know.
You're like, it's one of those things where it's like, you don't necessarily want to have the first round pick every year. Like, that's not a good thing.
One of the cool things with this though is like, you don't want it every year, but if you suck, shouldn't you want it? Because don't you get like the best, like, yeah, like, well, it's hard. It's like a double-edged sword.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was like. Yes, if you suck, you want it. But like, to me, all that stat like signifies to me is like, hey, you have not been the worst team in the league since whatever year you just mentioned.
1947, but yeah, no. Hey, you know what I want to talk about this game with the Colts and the Texans? Lovie fucking Smith. Lovie Smith built the statue in Chicago because Lovie Smith, not only was he a great Bears head coach and he led us to a Super Bowl in 2006, but he was the head coach until he got fired of the Houston Texans. And you know what he did? He decided to go for 2 on a game that did not matter to win it at the end because they scored in 10 seconds with 10 seconds left. And guess what he did? He went for 2. Gave us it. Lovie Smith, I swear to God, Lovie still, like, I know he does a lot for the Chicago community. And I know, like, being a Chicago Bears head coach was, like, everything to him. And so, like, I love Lovie. Like, I've always loved Lovie.
I just to go for 2. It's one of those things where the coaching side of me, I don't know if I could ever dignify like not trying everything in my power to win a game. Like, if like any other situation, any other instance, any other team, you go for 2 there. I don't care that it's the last game of the week. First round picks on the line, whatever. Like, as a pure coach and nothing else, my only thoughts are win the game. What is my job here? To win games. I'm going to win the game.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I really do think the Texans fired him specifically because they lost out on the first overall pick. Because he was a first-year coach. He was a first-year coach.
Didn't they even say... What I want to say, I heard something somewhere that they were actually like telling him not to do that or something, or they were telling him not to go for 2, or someone was telling him something or other, and he was like, "Nah, go for 2."
Well, he's a football coach through and through, a football coach through and through, like you just said. It's in your DNA, it's in your blood. You got a job to do. If you're not going for 2 when nothing matters or everything matters, it doesn't matter. You go for 2. If you got a potential to win the game, go for 2. Like,
now, getting into this first round pick a little bit more, I already know what we think is going to happen with it, but why don't you tell everybody else what our kind of expectations are for what the Bears should / are going to do with it?
I think what's going to happen and what the Bears should do is trade it, of course. We do not need, well, one, we do not need to take Will Anderson number one overall pick. I love Will Anderson, and I want him to be a Chicago Bear, but he's not a number one pick worthy, especially when you can get so much potential out of this fit. Um, Moving on from that, I think what's going to happen is we'll end up trading down with Indianapolis. Matt Eberflus, who's defense coordinator there. They have a relationship. They need a quarterback. And I don't know if you saw Chris Ballard, the GM for Indianapolis, said he would move heaven and earth to get a franchise starting quarterback in the draft this year, which is just like wedding bells in Chicago Bears fans' ears, because heaven and earth, that means I'll take Michael Pittman, your starting wide receiver. I'll take your number 4 pick. I'll take your first rounder next year in the 2024 NFL draft, and I'll take your 3rd and your 5th round pick.
There's definitely so much space. Like, there's plenty of teams out there that are in dire need of a quarterback right now. And we got at least 2 of them. We got Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Those will be the big 2. Texans, they're going to get one of those 2 one way or another, so they might not be the best team to trade with. You know, like, hey, want a first-round pick instead of a second? I don't know if they care that much. But, yeah, a team like the Colts would be perfect. Or I know you've mentioned before, a team like the Raiders would be a good choice.
Yeah.
And, yeah, especially with that, we can easily get their first-round pick, you know, just trade first-round picks for this year. We can probably get a pick or 2 for the next year or 2. And I would definitely take at least one solid player, receiver, defense, whatever. Whoever their not best guy, obviously. They probably aren't going to give that up quite. But, you know, whatever studs another team has that needs a quarterback, we need to get ourselves one veteran stud, give up that first round, and take their first round pick at a minimum.
Yep. I agree. Have you seen the smoke screen / rumors of what if the Bears trade away Justin Fields?
I've heard some people kind of talking about it. I've heard the whispers, and I think that is a stupid decision.
I agree. So Mike Tannenbaum, former New York Jets general manager, came out and said what I would do if I was the Chicago Bears is they said that the Colts are interested in Fields, and they have been for years. They said what I would do is draft Bryce Young with the pick, trade Justin for their 4th, and I was just like, when I heard him talk about it, I was like, you're so stupid, because you know that meme where it's like, do you want this or do you want the box?
Yeah.
And then it's like the Family Guy meme. Yeah. Justin Fields is the future of the Chicago Bears. And I hate that anybody that says, oh, he can't develop into a passer. He has similar stats to Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts in their second years, and they're top 5 quarterbacks.
He had almost the exact same stats as Josh Allen. Like, I know you've mentioned it before, like, oh, Justin Fields reminds me of Josh Allen's. And yeah, I heard that. His stats are almost exactly the same as Josh Allen's were his second year. Like, I just hate, I think the Bears, or Bears fandom, I should say, are just too hungry for that instant success. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Okay, you trade Fields to the Colts, you get Bryce Young. Tell me a first-year quarterback, like a first-round whatever pick quarterback, that's come in and instantly just done amazing.
It hasn't happened.
Exactly.
It doesn't happen.
What the fuck do people think's going to happen when we take yet another year to grab a new quarterback? At that rate, we're just going to cycle through new quarterback after new quarterback and be handing out these, like, now experienced players to everybody else.
And you know who did that for a while? The Indianapolis Colts. Look how well that turned out for him. Speaking of that, I don't think Bryce Young's that good, for one. I would rather take CJ Stroud if I was in the...
I would too. I would take Stroud over Bryce Young.
CJ Stroud's better, like bigger, stronger, and he throws a prettier ball, in my opinion. I think Bryce Young's an outlier. I think he's a Baker Mayfield. I think he's a Johnny Manziel. So I don't think he's that good. So, like, no. Justin Fields is not going anywhere. But there is one trade that I did see that you're gonna think I'm crazy, but Max Kellerman, he's a ESPN analyst. He did mention that the Ravens are very disgruntled because Lamar's contract has stalled out. He said, if I was the Bears and the Ravens, I'd just make a flip at quarterback. The Bears give up a fourth round pick in Justin Fields for Ravens Lamar Jackson. The Bears have the salary cap to sign Lamar Jackson to the contract that he wants. The way I look at this is Lamar at this moment is a better passer than Justin Fields. Similar skill set, but not exactly the same skill set. The Ravens get a younger version of Lamar, even though he's not the same skill set, but kind of. He fits their offensive scheme. Chicago gets their win now mode. Lamar Jackson. I don't hate that trade because I love Justin Fields and he's my guy, but I don't mind Lamar Jackson.
I don't hate that trade, but like you said, I am through and through on Fields. I am ready to, if Fields goes anywhere and gets good, I
would hate myself.
I want Fields so badly. I want him there, and to me, you're talking about this kind
he
of
wants to be there.
Whatever. If we get Lamar, Lamar is aging. Lamar is old. Like you said, we hand them like a younger version of Lamar. Well, why the fuck wouldn't we want the younger version of Lamar? That's going to be around longer. That's going to do more for us over time than becoming the Colts and just nabbing like old, retired, like the Colts have been doing it the past few years. They've just been cycling through the burnout, washout quarterbacks in the league. I don't want to be the Colts that are just taking old veteran after old veteran that ultimately end up retiring at the end of the season.
Well, and Lamar is definitely not at that stage yet, and he's definitely got years under his belt. Lamar Jackson's age is only 26 years old, and Justin Fields' age is
22. 23.
23. In March, he'll be 24. So, 2.5 year difference, not bad. Lamar, everybody talked about it. Stetson Bennett, Lamar are the same age, and so like Lamar came into the NFL young. He came in at 21, so he came in really young. So Lamar's not old for being a 6-year vet. So that's why I'm like, well, he's got a lot of experience. I don't hate it. Like, I'm not saying I'm in love with it, and I don't want it. Like, if I was the GM, I would decline that trade because I think Justin Fields has more upside than Lamar Jackson does. Yeah. And that's going to sound insane because Lamar Jackson has won an NFL MVP, but he hit his upside.
The thing with Lamar Jackson is, like you said, right now he's a better passer than Fields, but I don't think that's necessarily due to skill set. I think that's a little bit due to who you're passing to. I think it's a little bit due to utilization of the quarterback, coaching. And so I don't know. And you talk about like they're so similar, like they're close in age and everything. It's not that big a deal. He's got a lot of years left. But also when you have a quarterback that runs like 40% of the time like Lamar, they don't last as long as a Tom Brady that stands back in the pocket and slings it around. You don't get them for as long as you do quarterbacks that are able to just stand back and complete the throws when they're getting banged up and beat up all the time, just like a running back would.
I'm very nervous for Justin Fields on that standpoint. If we don't get weapons around him and offensive line, a better offensive line, like he's in that same boat. Right now, he's probably running 60% of the time because he doesn't have a time to throw or find his read. Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing we need to work. I think we are focused too much on quarterback right now because that's what we've had such a focus on for such a long time. I think we need to have our faith in Justin, rely on that, and let's start building the pieces around him. We did the quarterback thing. Yeah. We've got one. How about instead of continuing to nitpick at our quarterback situation, we actually get some other players around our fucking quarterback?
I agree, 1,000,000%. We do need the pieces, and like this is our guy. Let's do it. Let's go build him. Let's protect him. Let's give him players to throw to. And you can tell in Ryan Pohl's mind that he knows he's his guy because I know he's going to go out. He wouldn't have went and got Chase Claypool or tried to get, Chase Claypool in the middle of the year
Yeah.
if he didn't think he was the guy. He's shown enough. Like, it just sucks because Chicago's so quarterback hungry because the best quarterback we've ever had was Jim McMahon in 1985. The second best was Jay Cutler, and he was average at best.
Mm-hmm. Everyone just needs to relax, have a little faith, and let the good things grow over time. We're investing here. We're not day trading. We're investing.
Also, one more thing, and this is on the financial side of the Chicago Bears. The Bears have officially hired Kevin Warren, the Big Ten commissioner
I saw that.
of college football. He is now our new chief financial officer.
I saw that.
And team president.
I kind of like it just from a pure standpoint of like, ooh, I'm a Big Ten fan, and like I'm a Bears fan, and like my Big Ten guy went to the Bears. Like, I completely random, doesn't really mean anything, but still, part of me is just like, hey, yeah, those are my guys right there.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm just ready for Ted Phillips to stop running the Chicago Bears organization and having a legitimate. Ted Phillips has been running the Bears since 1987.
Yeah, time to go bye-bye.
It's time to go bye-bye. And Kevin Warren, he's done a lot with the Big Ten, and I'm excited because come to Chicago, build us a team. Get our payroll in order, salary cap. Let's go. Get everything in order so Ryan Poles can pull the strings, get the players, and Eberflus can coach these players, and we can perform on the field.
I'm just excited for the direction of the Chicago Bears overall. I'm very much looking forward to the future on all aspects. All kinds of new hires. It's like getting some good guys in, got some good picks. I'm excited to see where things go. But moving on from NFL talk, we're starting to get a little low on our time here, so we'll get into our college football segments. College football championships have happened. We'll start with the FCS. North Dakota State versus South Dakota State. South Dakota State ended up winning it 45-21. Go Jackrabbit.
Wow. Wow. Was not expecting that big of a blowout on that side. But, South Dakota State, congrats, man. I didn't watch you, but congrats. You're FCS champions.
I watched a little bit. I was at the coaching convention when the game was played. We were actually at a restaurant trying to eat, and the game was behind me, so I was doing an awkward kind of watching and sitting at my taste. So I watched a little bit, but not a ton. But I definitely watched the score just slowly, increase for the Jackrabbits, and hey, makes Iowa look that much better.
We beat the FCS champions.
That's right.
Look at us.
Barely.
We are FCS champions. That makes us FCS champions.
Somehow, I sadly think that if we were actually in the FCS, at some point we'd have fucked up and been kicked out.
Oh man,
but
that'd be cool. We'd be national champs.
As much as I would love to say that we were national champs, I feel like I have a little bit more pride just being good in a Power 5.
True. I agree.
I'll take a good Power 5 over national champs in the FCS any day. But to move into that Power 5 FBS football, TCU versus Georgia. I mean, shit. I knew Georgia was gonna win. I think we both knew Georgia was gonna win, but fuck, 65-7.
I literally have no words for this game. I stopped watching it in the third quarter when it went up to 52-7.
I think I did too. I technically at the convention, they always have the convention around the national championship game, and they actually do a watch party for it. So the same place that we went for all the guest speakers and everything, they've got like 4 or 5 different just like huge screens, like 2 way up at the front, 2 a little further back for the people sitting back more. And they set out all kinds of free food. You got 2 free drinks. And they just had the game going on all these screens with a bunch of different coaches. It was kind of funny to watch. Watching a football game with like hundreds of coaches in the room is kind of a funny thing.
That sounds cool.
The noises
man.
everybody makes, like at the same times, like the ball gets a little loose on a fumble, just the entire room. Oh, like it's kind of funny.
Man, your convention. I wish I was there.
It was awesome. It was absolutely fucking awesome. I don't know if I'm going to continue being a college coach. I'm kind of trying to go back to Colorado. I know I've talked to you about that, but even if I'm a high school coach, I know some high school coaches still go and everything. I definitely want to go back to that convention. It's a good time. I absolutely loved it. It's definitely an experience.
For sure. Yeah, Georgia had quite the experience also during this game. Stetson Bennett looked amazing. I don't like Stetson Bennett. I don't like Stetson Bennett one bit. Smug little 26-year-old face. He's older than me, man.
He is.
He's older than me.
He's older than both of us.
I don't like the kid. He's not even a kid. I feel bad for our pride and joy, Max Duggan. He didn't look good, and it probably hurt his draft stock quite a bit.
The very first touchdown that they scored looked so promising. Like, they went down a little early. You could tell TCU just looked super nervous and skittish, but I think they were down 13 or 10? 10 or 13, I think.
It was 10-0.
Yeah, 10-0. And then TCU had that one big break, that one huge play like they always do, end up getting a touchdown off of it. And I was like, okay, here we go. TCU's ready. Like, they've knocked the rust off. They've gotten their nerves calmed down. They're here to compete. And then the next however many minutes of the game, they were not there to compete.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, that 10-7, Duggan scored that touchdown, and I was like, let's go. I felt the same way. I think everybody in America felt the same way because a lot of people were cheering for TCU because we don't want another Alabama.
No.
And that's what Georgia is. Georgia is literally another Alabama. 2 years in a row. They'll probably be favorites to go back next year. And
I don't know. Bennett leaving them now is going to hurt because he's done.
He's done, and he'll be a great slot receiver for Bill Belichick. But, yeah, I don't know, man. Hopefully they get a crappy quarterback and something happens and they just fall apart. I don't know. I don't like Georgia.
You also got to remember we're going to get the 12-team playoff next year, so that could flip things up a little bit. I mean, we saw how close the Ohio State arguably should have won that game in the first place. So
I wanted them to win that game.
I know.
And
if you have cases like that, it's a lot easier. Even if Georgia is the best team, it's a lot easier to have that one little mess up, that one little oops, when you're playing 4 playoff games? I forget how many, 3 or 4 playoff games, however many it would be for the 12-team playoff. It's a lot easier to make that little oopsie. For sure.
I just want to say one thing. You mentioned C.J. Stroud in Georgia. Bryce Young stats versus Georgia this year. If you want to compare who's a better quarterback, I know we mentioned this in the past. Bryce Young went for 21 for 48. That's a lot of pass attempts. 226 yards, 1 TD, and 3 picks against Georgia.
Big game.
C.J. Stroud, on the other hand, against Georgia, since that's a mutual team and that's the closest deep NFL defense that you're going to face, he went 23 for 34, 348 yards, 4 TDs, 0 picks.
So phenomenally better.
Who's the better quarterback? Bryce Young is also 5'10 and 190 pounds. CJ Stroud is 6'3 and 220.
Yeah.
Who's the quarterback?
It's gonna
Why?
be Stroud. Stroud has to be the guy that's gonna go first round. If he's not, it's whoever. I don't know. If we give it to the Colts, I could see the Colts making a bad move because I don't know if they know what they're doing over there. But
or the Raiders, they love speed. And
yeah,
Bryce Young.
That's true too.
I could see the Raiders giving up heaven and earth. I could see them giving us Derek Carr and Devontae Adams and their 7th for Justin Fields, just because of how fast Justin Field is. That's off topic, but besides the point.
No, but yeah, sadly, I mean, Georgia won it again, so good for them.
Gross.
They'll be back next year, especially with 12 team. Like with the 12 team playoffs, like I don't have a hard time saying they'll be back next year whatsoever. Because like shit, even if they're number 10, like they'll be back.
Yeah, but they will.
Moving on, I know we haven't talked basketball in a little while, but I think that was because one, football was starting to pick up and it was getting kind of exciting, and basketball was very much not. The Iowa Hawkeyes actually went on a little bit of a losing streak. Keegan Murray was hurt, and at least one of the games, Ulis was hurt, and at least another game, Patrick McCaffrey is actually sitting out currently still due to mental health. So hope he's okay. Hope he can get everything figured out and be back by the end of the season, ideally. But break it down. I know it's been a little while since we talked about it, but we lost to Eastern Illinois, lost to Nebraska, lost to Penn State, but then we came out and beat a ranked Indiana. That to me, I was like, what are we doing? We're just gonna lose. We're gonna beat ranked Ohio State or Iowa State, and then we're gonna lose to Eastern Illinois, Nebraska, and then we're gonna beat ranked Indiana. Like, guys, come on. But that game did begin a 3-game win streak. We went on to beat Rutgers after that, and just beat Michigan last night in overtime, which was phenomenal. Loved watching it. I know you said you weren't watching that game, but now that football's not winding down, but now that there's a lot less football games on because we've eliminated a bunch of teams and it is officially playoff time, I'm going to start really picking up on basketball again. And hopefully Iowa continues on this win streak so that I actually enjoy picking up basketball again.
For sure, man. Yeah, no, I'm glad to see Iowa winning. Like you said, I haven't watched basketball for a while now, so I couldn't even tell you what's going on. I couldn't even talk about it. But yeah, go Hawks.
Go Hawks. But we'll end it with that little note. So going forward, get ready for a lot of playoff talk. I don't know exactly what the episodes are going to look like. We're obviously going to talk the playoffs as much as we possibly can. Basketball will still probably be a little bit limited toward the end of the episode since playoffs are probably going to be real exciting, but we'll definitely get a little bit more into basketball. And yeah, until then, like, subscribe, hit us up, do whatever, comment. Got anything to say, Avery?
Man, I just got 3 words, or 3 phrases, and it's go G-Men against the Vikings, go Duval, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and like always, Bear